This is the first episode of the Tabula Rasa podcast, which will be called Sometimes We Sleep on Branches. This is the first episode. This is the first one, so there might be some problems, but we can try and work through them. And we'll see how it goes, and then we can go from there.
So we thought we'd maybe start with saying kind of how we came up with the name. It probably sounds a bit odd. Sometimes we sleep on branches.
So we were camping. We were away in November for one night.
I think it was Halloween. Yeah, end of October, Halloween.
It's Halloween. We were about 30 minutes north of Dundee.
Yeah.
It was next to a lake. We were in a teepee. We ran out of water, ran out of food.
No signal.
No signal. So we couldn't tell anybody. We just thought we'd ride it out. We'd stay there. But the teepee was quite thin, so it had just the bottom. We didn't have any bases to sleep on.
Oh, we also picked the worst spot to pitch the tent up. It was just branch after branch after branch.
So we were kind of lying on them. We were just talking about things. We knew Tabula Rasa was already underway by then. We were hoping to get a podcast going. We didn't know the name of the podcast yet. And we were essentially sleeping on branches. And we were kind of saying how the metaphor sometimes, you've got to eat dirt, you got to do the bad things to get good things. You got to do the hard work. And it's not always comfortable. But sometimes going out your comfort zone
is where growth
is
happens.
a good thing. So we thought sometimes we sleep on branches.
Well, I think we'd said that, and then after saying it a couple of times, I think you were like, "Oh, that could be a podcast name."
And then here it is.
There we are.
We have a logo, which is the branches, the microphone, so for the podcast.
So it's got like the wee nerve bits of the brain thinking that.
That's it. So Tabula Rasa essentially is our online platform. It's a membership platform that people use for the training, the mindset, the nutrition. It's kind of all these things. The brain is basically how everything happens. So while the gym is important, we like training, exercising, movement, it all comes from the brain. You've got to have the ability to get up out your bed, go into the gym, put in the hard work. So the brain starts with the brain, basically.
Well, it's also like training is obviously such an important part of your health, but if you've not kind of got a good mindset, you can be getting into nutrition and training for wrong reasons and end up with like unhealthy relationships with them as well.
Yeah, and the name Tabula Rasa. So it's got Indian things to it.
Yeah, so the like translation for it, I guess it's like the mind in its hypothetical empty state before any preconceived ideas. So I think the idea we kind of had behind that was kind of taking away any kind of like the whole, there's so much misinformation out there with like training, nutrition and lifestyle and stuff, and it's kind of taking it back to...
Well, the clean slate, you can wake up tomorrow and decide you're going to change everything.
Yeah.
You can start with one small thing and basically complete, like within 12 months, 12 weeks, you can change your life quite drastically.
A lot can happen in a short period of time.
Yeah, and it starts with a basically a clean slate. You can stop doing the bad things, start some good things, consistently over time. You change how you are.
Yeah, I think it's also remembering though that it's not ever as easy as just being clean slate.
That's why we have the habit trackers and we have all these ways to get people.
Well, that's the whole thing of Tabula Rasa, I guess. It's helping people through it, kind of step by step.
Yeah, it's not easy.
No, and I think that's what people forget. People think, oh, right, we'll just start fresh, clean slate, and then after the first day, it's like, oh, this is hard, and they fall back right into old routines and habits.
And that's stuff we will get into. Why kind of social media can have that effect, because you look at someone, say, you're on your chapter 1, you're just starting page 1, chapter 1. Someone's on their chapter 20, page 400, and you look at theirs and go, oh, they're doing so well and it's so easy for them, but you didn't see
the kind of growth that they had all the years before.
So the name we've covered, we started with a whiteboard with some ideas. We found out...
Just brainstorming for ages. I think we had the name wrote down. We had Tabula Rasa wrote down on the board.
For a couple months at least.
And then we looked back at all the kind of photos we had of the board, And then that stood out, and I remember thinking, oh, I quite like that. And then you were like, oh, I quite like that. And then we were just like,
Made the logo in the lockdown.
yeah.
We've changed
Well, that's
the
when we were
Instagram.
isolating
We've
for the week.
So we had the train routine. So the initials obviously TR. And during the kind of isolation period we thought we'll get some stuff done that we didn't have as much time to do, which was kind of making the logo, getting stuff set up. And we thought the brain, we wanted that in there, so Tabula Rasa, and because everything's to do with routine, we thought train routine, it goes with the same initials, it's also now the Instagram name, which looks a lot better than Tabula Rasa online coaching.
It was just too long, to be fair.
You couldn't even read the whole username because of how long it was. It would get to Tabula Rasa online, and then that would be it.
Cut off at that point.
So train routine is the kind of subheading of the name, and Tabula Rasa is kind of the name of the...
I think it's also better because train routine kind of describes a bit more of what we do, where I feel like if somebody just read Tabula Rasa, they'd be like, what is that to begin with? Where train routine, it's in the name, what it is.
Yeah, it makes sense. Tabula Rasa is you need to know a bit more about that. That doesn't describe what it is.
No,
it is essentially train routine.
Yeah.
Training your routine of everything. How you eat, how you live.
Well, I think that's the kind of whole aim with it, is covering everything. Like, everything you do in your life affects your overall health, how you feel.
So, between the two of us, we've obviously both had different paths to get here.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm a wee bit older. I'm 23.
And I'm 21.
So, 98 and 2000. So, 2 different decades there.
Yeah, we met Jack was actually my coach. I feel like that's what kind of got me really changing kind of my lifestyle in general, was when
you were a vegan.
Vegan for 4 years. What now? Pretty much carnivore.
Yeah, I just said, listen, you want to start eating some meat.
Oh, when you told me at first, have eggs and bacon for breakfast, I was like, bacon? No chance. I'm not having bacon for breakfast.
And now we have, you have a pack to half a pack of bacon some days.
Oh, I don't know what I'd do without bacon.
And the eggs, steak, you've had probably more steaks since then.
Well, steak was the first thing I had when I stopped being vegan, because it was during that first lockdown, and I remember sitting up Dundee Law, and I turned to my friends and I was like, guys, I got something to tell you, and they were like, fuck, what's it going to be, kind of thing. And I was like, I really want a steak. Like, I cannot explain how much I was craving a steak. And then I think the first one I had was like quite rare, to be fair, and I scanned it in 2 seconds.
Are you having them most days of the week?
Well, when I first stopped being vegan, I was still probably eating vegan like 78% of the time until I started with you. But introducing the meat back into my diet, even that little amount, my overall health felt like it just drastically inclined.
So we got there to the training side of things. The diet started changing, but even before that, you were at uni. I'd been a PT for a year, but obviously COVID had happened.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of broken.
Took a good few months out, but the first lockdown especially was a good one. I mean, we can do specific episodes talking about lockdowns for people. I think it was positives.
Oh, I saw a lot of positives in the lockdown. Yeah. I feel like the first lockdown came and I was like, I need to sort myself out. And I did, I feel. Yeah. From that point onwards, I feel like life has gradually inclined. Not that it was an easy journey at all, but making those choices, it slowly got...
Started with the lockdown, for sure. The first one. The second one was a bit more unexpected.
Yeah, but we still made the most of it. We were up at the park like 2-3 times a week doing the rings in the snow.
Well, that's how this came about, I think.
Yeah.
Decided I was going to do it myself. You decided about 2 months into coaching that
I'm going to be a personal trainer.
PT. And then here we are.
Here we are, yeah.
So you were at uni doing biology, right? Biological
sciences, yeah.
Yeah.
And then thought I'd go back and try biology with maths, and quickly realised uni, like, I don't think there's anything, I think uni's great for people who actually want to be in uni, but I think it's definitely very just forced to a lot of people, and it's kind of made to be the only option. I think it's great, I wouldn't say it's not great, but for me personally, I don't think it worked. But I mean, that's probably a whole other episode in itself.
Well, yeah, you go to school for 6 years, or 5 years, or 4 years, or however long you're at high school for, and then you leave and you're told to go to uni. But a lot of people don't actually know what they want to do yet, which is why the dropout rate is so high, I think.
Yeah. Well, the like dropout rate for first years is incredibly high, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Don't know exact numbers, but like I knew a lot of people that dropped out in first year.
Yeah. So I went back to uni second time, and it wasn't so much the coursework and the course itself. It was
Kind of
more
the way they taught it.
the way they taught. I didn't like sitting at the back of a room with like 100 other people listening to someone speak for an hour and a half, and they have the same slide on for about 30 minutes.
Well, I also swear they turned the temperature up and dimmed the lights. And I'm like, this is prime nap condition.
Yeah, so then you end up sleeping, and not good.
Yeah, I feel like I never left the lecture thinking, wow, I've actually learned something. Like, I feel like I've sat and read a chapter of a book and learned a lot more than I did in a lecture.
For sure. It's not made for everyone, but also
A lot of people need it.
it's the education side of things. I think people think just because you're not at uni, you're not learning, which is that in some cases that's true. A lot of people, you need that uni, you need the, okay, go and read this studies, go and read
Some
these
people need
books.
that push to do it.
I liked finding my own kind of pathway to it, and obviously you maybe do that a bit more in your last kind of year or two, but you're still quite doing courses you don't like. For me, I was like, I didn't like that. And obviously, yeah, you still have to do things you don't enjoy in life, but for me, I wanted to learn about specific things, and it just wasn't in their coursework, which
Like, at all.
didn't really fit. So I suppose there's so many jobs out there now with certain, some of the best people in their field in the world haven't been educated through a university or
Well,
college.
the thing is, as well, is I feel like it's very saturated as well. So if you have an honours degree,
Yeah.
like that doesn't stand out anymore. Like you have to go that extra bit and get a master's or a PhD now. So
And it's the work experience. If you've been at uni and college and your parents have paid for everything, you leave uni, you haven't had a job before, and you're trying to get into a big corporation. You've never actually had a 9-to-5 job or even just a weekend job. It makes a big difference. You've never actually experienced customers and being an employee and that kind of thing. So
I think a lot of places look for that work experience as well, that you could have the degree.
that's why I think apprenticeships are great.
Yeah, well, because the apprenticeships, you still get to study
get
a
a bit
little
of
bit
work
like with college or
studying,
something, and you
yeah.
get work experience.
Well, I think that's how it used to be back in the kind of olden times. Maybe in the Greeks, they used to have apprenticeships like this. When these things, you'd go, there'd be an older person that was very wise. You'd get
learn from them.
a little bit of money or whatever for doing it, but you'd also get a lot of experience and learning. And it's essentially you're just spending time with people that are better than you, which is why books are good, because not everybody has that opportunity. But you read 5 books, I think it is. If you read 5 books on a specific subject, you probably know more than 90% of the people in the world on that specific subject, no matter what it is, if you understand the books, of course.
Yeah, I feel like there's a difference between reading the book and actually understanding it and just reading it and not having taken any of it in or understood any of it.
Yeah, and if you do read a book, a lot of people, if they don't read often, you probably find you start reading, you get a chapter in a book, you read a chapter, you might have realised you've just gone through 3 pages of writing and not actually taking any of it in because your brain's doing other things.
Oh, I get that all the time. The amount of times I've read pages and I'm like, right, I need to go back because I genuinely didn't take any of it in. I was in Tenerife one time, there was a hypnosis guy, and he said don't know how true it is, but he was saying that when you read a page and then you don't take any of it in, that was like some form of self-hypnosis or something. I'm not sure if that's how true that is, but that's what he told me. So
It's focusing on one thing for a long time.
Yeah.
Because you spend a lot of time scrolling on your phone and reading stuff. It changes every single scroll is something completely different. So I suppose your brain it's constantly getting fed new information.
Yeah, so then if you switch to something where it's not changing and you just got to focus on it, if your brain's so used to having constant
Constant change in colours and information. It's
Yeah.
quite a big change. So we've had about 6 months waiting to start the first podcast, maybe longer.
Yeah.
But we finally started.
I think we did want to start it earlier, but I feel like there's just been 10 million things to do, and
There's a
I
lot of
guess
things
everyone's
to
got
do.
that problem though. There's too much stuff to do and not enough time.
But 25-minute podcasts, there's 25 minutes in a week we can
No
spare.
excuses.
It's a bit hard with the lights because
They're quite harsh.
they're quite harsh lights, and I have eye drops in, so
It's fair, probably doing best sitting there.
Yeah, there's a lot of light coming into the office at the moment, but we'll get through. Didn't want to put sunnies on inside.
Not for the first episode.
No, I don't think if people would, I wouldn't watch someone wearing sunglasses inside. So, yeah, we'll go over different aspects of different things in the podcasts. It's very kind of vague, I guess. We, you know, it's because it's based on movement, nutrition, mindset. We want to get guests on. Yeah, we want to get people on that have a certain lifestyle that's quite interesting, or people that have you know, they're in a specific sport, a specific job that we find interesting, or just anything that we think people would want to, or we would want to listen to, really. Yeah. And then if people listen and they enjoy it, then that's the main thing.
Yeah, and I think we want to kind of cover a very wide spectrum of different topics, because that kind of essentially is what Tabula Rasa is in itself as well. Like, we cover so many different areas to improve your life quality, so we kind of want the podcast to also be able to cover all these different areas and topics as well.
Yeah, so other coaches, other, you know, people just in general, people that we think would have interesting things to say. Athletes would be a good one.
Yeah.
People that are just more intelligent than us in certain areas, or have something to learn from, because at the end of the day, we're speaking to people for 25, 30 minutes, so we're going to learn things from them. And if people watch it, and that's what you get from you listen to a podcast, you listen,
you learn something.
That's all that matters. And if it helps people, obviously there's people focusing on weight loss, you know, trying to build muscle, trying to lose a bit of weight, trying to get rid of pain. They're trying to improve their diet, maybe improve their mindset. There might be something in that they hear and go, oh, okay, that clicks. And it's a collection of things we've found that help, because we've obviously had, like everyone, our own hurdles in life to face, you know, since birth, really. I suppose everybody has.
Well, I think sharing kind of the hurdles that we've gone through and how we've overcome them as well, even though people might not have the exact same hurdle, if it's just kind of similar situation, they can at least try kind of how we did it, and it could potentially work for them as well.
Exactly. There's not one fix.
No.
But there's definitely probably ways. There's always a fix, I think.
There's always ways that will help kind of better the situation, or at least ease some of the stress of the situation, whether it works as well for one individual as it does for the other. I feel like there's certain things like if you had a health condition, like looking at your diet, that if you've got quite a bad diet, changing that will improve your health. Like that is fact. But in certain circumstances, I feel like some things might work better for other people than another individual.
Yeah, it depends on the health condition. If you're deaf, you know, eating a bit of meat's not going to fix the situation.
That. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's very down to like the circumstance for that individual person.
Yeah, and we're just trying to find more answers to different problems. That's really
just always learning, always try to grow. Really.
That's it. So we hope to get some people on the next episode. We'd like to get a guest on at least.
Yeah. Try to get a guest on quite often, to be fair.
Yeah, we don't want just the two of us yapping away, but we've got
every now and again.
We have a lot of things. There's kind of the 6-week challenge we did at the start of the year. There's a lot of things that we've done that we think that have helped or changed how we see a certain situation or improved our mindset. Things that are ongoing at the moment that in 2 or 3 months we can go, okay, that's a whole podcast in itself. And that's definitely going to help, because the main thing is is perfection. That's what people think. They think if you say, okay, this has helped me, it's not a perfection. Like we do like a cold shower, meditating, reading. It's like if you try and fix all these habits and do them consistently, your life will improve. A lot of people think it's a perfection thing. You've got to do it every single day. If you read one page less than a day, it's the consistent action of doing these things.
Well, I think there's some people, if they have one day where, say like the habit tracker that we've done, and they have one day where they don't tick everything off, it's quite easy to be like, well, I failed, I'm just going to kind of continue to fail, rather than being like, right, that was just one day that I didn't quite tick everything off.
Wait till Monday and start fresh, which is why the habit tracker is good, because essentially the next day is a Monday, or that day is a Monday. Because unless you go into bed that very second and you physically can't do one of the things that you're tracking, you just start the next day. You get up tomorrow, you maybe do it in the morning, do it in the evening. You've done it twice, so you feel better. There's a lot of small mindset changes that people can implement that will help with their goals, really. And changing that is going to be the biggest difference. Consistency, not perfection. We've written that before when we've done stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to improve the social media side of things. We're not very good at. We've invested in trying to make that better, and we're ongoing with kind of posting and the real side of things and the stories and keeping on top.
It's a whole other job in itself, though.
Yeah, and that's just the marketing side of things. So we're trying to improve, but we don't necessarily want to spend hours on our phone editing things and
Oh, I
doing
really
photos,
struggle with being on my phone as much as I have been. I feel like I'd like to condense.
which is why we're trying to learn the best way of doing it in a short amount of time with the maximum amount of kind of output from that. So hopefully
That's
you'll
that whole
see.
thing of kind of working smarter, not harder.
That's it. Trying to do 10 times the amount of 10 times the amount of work in half the amount of time would be ideal. Also means we can do other things we enjoy, playing the piano or keyboards.
Oh, yeah. I got the guitar out the other day.
So learning new things. There's so many things, but we're trying to work on this for now. This is the best thing. I think getting the first episode up is going to be good. We'll put the video on YouTube. We'll put the sound on Spotify if I can get that sorted. And yeah, hopefully if you're listening or watching, you'll stick around for the next episodes. We'll put it onto the YouTube channel, we're going to stick a lot of stuff on there for free that we would stick on the member site. But it's just kind of brief versions of it, I guess. And then we have the green screen down there, so a lot more stuff getting filmed, edited, put up on the website for the members.
We're constantly trying to update the website as well and add new things on there.
It's trying to plan. There's a lot of stuff to plan.
There's a lot of things.
We're working a lot, so.
But just keep ticking things off,
away.
And we'll get everything done eventually.
Consistency, not perfection.
There we go.
So I think we'll end
Wrap
it there.
up there.
Yeah, we've got the day to go on with. It's still in the morning, so.
I think it's just the afternoon now.
Oh well, we're behind on the day, so we'll get ahead and.
Until the next episode, I guess.
Until the next episode. This is the first episode of.
Sometimes Super Surprises.